for braving the weather. We're going to go ahead and get started. Senator Hertel will kick us off.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Glad everybody got here safe. My name is Kevin Hertel. I represent the 12th Senate District. And I'm here not only as a legislator this morning, but as a father of 2 young boys. And when I think back to what life looked like when I was their age, compared to what they're experiencing today, it is clear that our kids are facing a whole new set of challenges. And as a parent, that can be terrifying. My wife Ann and I constantly talk about how we can confront these challenges to keep our kids safe, because that's what every parent wants at the end of the day, to know that their kids are safe, happy, and healthy. But in today's world, there's one thing that's giving us a real run for our money and trying to provide that safe life for them. And that's the ever-changing presence of technology and social media and how it's impacting our daily lives. Just this past Christmas season, I had a 5-year-old son who asked me for an iPhone 16. Now, he was very upset on Christmas morning when he found soccer balls and all the traditional toys under the tree, but I think that's what parents are confronting all the time right now. At a younger age, children are requesting this technology. And so my wife and I try to allow them to have a childhood where they can play outside, where they run around with their friends and enjoy just being a kid. But we're not able to fully shield them from everything social media throws at them. And that's because at the end of the day, parents here in Michigan and across the country are not being equipped with the tools and the power they need to keep their kids safe in this online world that we're all living in. Instead, big tech has chosen to keep parents on the sidelines as they push unethical, predatory practices to make a profit at the expense of our children. In a recent survey, over 90% of U.S. parents reported being concerned about their child's online safety. More than any other child safety issue, including gun violence, child poverty, and climate change. That number there, 90%, is an indictment on the current status quo. And today, that's exactly why my colleagues and I are here to rectify this. I'd like to take a moment to break down what the Kids Code Act entails and what it will mean for Michigan families here in our state. The legislation not only strengthens data privacy protections for minors and requires safer default settings on digital platforms, but this would also put parents back in the driver's seat, giving them the power to protect their kids online just as they do in the real world. What does this look like in action? Parents will have the ability to manage their children's privacy and account settings, restrict purchases and financial transactions of their children on social media platforms, view the total time their children have spent online, and place reasonable limits on their screen time, and restrict their kids' use of social media during certain times of the day, including during school hours and at night. At the core, this legislation is about building the kind of world we want for our kids. A world where kids are more focused on passing their math tests than counting how many likes or shares they have on their social media feeds. A world where they're excited about seeing their friends at soccer practice, not through a screen. And a world where their self-worth is not defined by an algorithm in online spaces, but rather by family, friendships, and real-life experiences. As a parent, I won't accept anything less for my children. I refuse to raise my children in a world where big tech profits at their expense and the expense of their classmates. And I'm going to keep fighting until our laws finally catch up with the digital world and our children are growing up in the digital world that our children are growing up in, so they can have safe, happy, and healthy childhoods that they deserve. I will now pass it over to my colleague, Senator Chang.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Chang, and I'm a state senator for Michigan Senate District 3. I am also a parent of young children who is doing as much as I can to keep my kids away from cell phones as long as I can. And as a parent, I know the magnitude of keeping our kids safe. Physical dangers are tangible to us. We can educate our children to call 911 for emergencies or to stop, drop, and roll in the event of a fire. But keeping our children safe from online dangers, on the other hand, is on an entirely different scale. As technology advances, online safety seems to become increasingly out of our grasp. Whether it be AI programs or social media platforms, big tech companies collect personal data from every user. Social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram create algorithms based on the content that users interact with most. And this is designed to keep users addicted to their own interests and spend more time on those platforms. These tactics intentionally keep us invested no matter the detriment to our health and our minds. Children are especially at risk to the exploitative schemes of social media as brains start to develop social reward systems around the age of 10. This makes positive social media interactions synonymous with a happiness boost for our youngest users. Their developing brains become hooked on the dopamine associated with likes, follows, and other social rewards. And big tech companies know that our children are incredibly vulnerable to their exploitative algorithms, but continue to profit, leaving our kids glued to their screens with no remorse or accountability. It is our job as lawmakers to increase protections for Michigan's children. That is why Senator Hertel and I introduced the Kids Code Act, 2 bills in our Kids Over Clicks package designed to keep our children safe from online predation and coercive business practices from social media companies. This critical legislation will help safeguard minors from the dangerous tactics employed by big tech, such as targeted ads and other forms of data collection, including children's biometric data. Additionally, our bill package would grant parents greater security allowance to their children's social media accounts through increasing privacy settings, restricting payment options, and tracking and limiting screen time allowance. Shielding children from the multitudes of harm and danger associated with the evolving online mediascape should be common sense legislation. So my colleagues and I will always prioritize the safety and well-being of the youngest generation of Michiganders. Thank you, and I'll hand it over to Senator Coley.
Good morning, everyone. I represent Senate District 5, and I'm based in Livonia. Thank you for joining us today as we bring awareness to the many dangers of allowing big tech companies to operate here in our state without the proper safety parameters. As a former high school teacher, I know firsthand just how much our kids are online and how much unfettered digital activity inhibits their ability to learn, socialize, and live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. As a legislator, I've seen how unregulated AI companion chatbots have inflicted real-life harm to kids across the country. And there are just a couple examples I want to just briefly talk about. There's a 16-year-old child out of California who died after ChatGPT evolved into a suicide coach, giving him methods, emotional validation, and even helping draft a suicide note despite clear signs of distress. A young person in Florida, 14, developed a romantic addictive bond with a character, AI bot, and that encouraged secrecy, dependency, and ultimately urged him to come home to do it just before he died by suicide. A young woman, 13, Colorado, she confided in a character AI bot that cultivated emotional dependence and failed to escalate her repeated mentions of self-harm, leading her to suicide at 13. According to recent research at the Center for Countering Digital Hate, ChatGPT generates content related to self-harm, suicide planning, substance abuse, and disordered eating. AI chatbots have even given teens detailed responses on how to safely self-injure, what pills are the most recommended for overdosing, how to conceal drug and alcohol use at school, and even provided kids with suicide note drafts for family members. That's sick. These AI chatbots are not just blurring emotional boundaries with our kids, they're quite literally emboldening minors to engage in self-harming behaviors, illegal activities, sexually explicit interactions, and they've even led some teenagers to death by suicide. This is absolutely disturbing and unacceptable, and that's why I'm proud to champion the Leading Ethical AI Development, or LEAD for Kids Act. My bill would make dangerous AI companion chatbots inaccessible to Michigan's kids, including those that have the capability to encourage harmful, explicit, or unlawful activities. This is a common sense safety guardrail that would better protect our kids from the emerging risks of unregulated AI chatbots, and it's a testament to our continued commitment to the safety and well-being of Michigan's kids. Together, we're going to put kids over clicks, and we're going to put a stop to big tech's unethical practices that have endangered kids from across our state. And now I'd like to pass it on to Alicia Manili.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Alicia Manili. I'm the Vice President of Government and Community Affairs for UNSPAM. I travel the state of Michigan promoting the Michigan Child Protection Registry, which is an internet safety registry, while hosting trainings for families that encourage parental involvement in their kids' online activities and the use of parental controls on devices. My goal is to prepare parents for the worst. It is not if your kids will see something harmful, it is when. Today, though, I am feeling optimistic, standing here with these advocates in support of kids over clicks. This much-needed legislation is reasonable, responsible, and realistic, and represents an important step toward keeping kids safer when they scroll on their phones. As someone who works closely with technology and other safety experts, I know that big tech corporations can easily implement the safeguards that Kids Over Clicks requires them to do. Other states and countries already require big tech corporations to deploy privacy first and safety by design programs and settings. So they should be able to do this in Michigan as well. As I travel across the state and have conversations with parents on how kids can stay safe while using social media, they overwhelmingly say that big tech billionaires need to stop exploiting our children for data points and profits. During my trainings, I hear from so many discouraged and fearful parents. Parental controls promise peace of mind, but they're often confusing, inconsistent across devices, and way too easy for our kids to bypass. Unfortunately, the only way parents find out about how these controls are not effective is after their child has been introduced to sexually explicit content, has created an ongoing relationship with a predator, has self-harmed, or worse. Additionally, you can ask any parent about their scrolling habits, and they will tell you that the addiction is real, and that some are at a loss on how to control it. I know parents who have tried to take away their child's device or even just reduce the amount of time that they are on it. The stories that they share with me about the withdrawals are genuinely alarming. I've heard about children erupting into loud, physical, and violent tantrums, or others just simply completely shut down. These reactions aren't just misbehaviors. They're signals that screens have become deeply tied to how kids cope, regulate, and navigate their emotions. Let me be clear. Social media corporations intentionally flood our kids' feeds with content designed to keep them addicted, glued to their screens, engaged and online for as long as possible in order to harvest private information about our children that they can monetize. Michigan families demand protections that hold big tech accountable by reining in predatory practices that turn kids into social media addicts and expose them to all kinds of risks every time they get online. This legislation is about putting our children's safety ahead of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg's huge paycheck. Right now, the Michigan legislature has an opportunity to take an important step toward keeping their children safer when they go online by passing Kids Over Clicks without delays. I look forward to watching these bills move on to the governor's desk. Thank you, and I would like to introduce Jennifer Tuskell of MyPass.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Tuxell. I'm a parent with teen children, and we live in Oakland County. I would like to thank the legislators here today for introducing and pushing common sense, reasonable, and responsible legislation that can help keep our children safer when they go online. As a parent, I urge our elected leaders to pass Kids Over Clicks, because this legislation puts the responsibility of making a product safer on the actual maker of that product. The social media corporations behind platforms like Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, and others. Like many parents in Michigan, I am deeply concerned about the negative effects of social media on our kids. As online technology takes over more and more of our lives, I have seen firsthand how social media harms our children. We all know families that have been affected by their children's social media use. My friend's teen child has been approached online by strangers, greatly affecting his mental health. Kids are often bullied online and/or face harassment and even threats. Make no mistake, harassment, bullying, extortion, and other dangerous behaviors online are the result of algorithms that social media companies use to feed kids content every second of every day that keeps them hooked. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, and other platforms all make their money from clicks. And right now, our kids are giving them those clicks. Big tech billionaires like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are exploiting our children by giving them dangerous, irresponsible content designed to keep them glued to their screens, while exploiting them for data points that add to their profits. Big tech billionaires are intentionally turning our children into social media addicts and endangering their mental and physical health at the same time, even as they exploit our kids' online activities to make money. As a parent, I support the Kids Over Clicks legislative package because it represents the first bills we have seen in Michigan that shifts the impossible burden of monitoring children's online behavior every waking hour of the day away from parents and instead puts the responsibility on social media corporations where it actually belongs. From all the evidence we have, thanks to whistleblowers and parents' lawsuits, we know that social media companies are fully aware of, 1, how addictive their products are, 2, how their kids' addictions feed their obscene profits, and 3, how to actually make their products safer for young children. As parents and families, we urge the Michigan legislature to pass Kids Over Clicks without delay and make big tech billionaires do what they can and should do, but simply refuse to do, because they are more concerned about profits than our children's safety. Thank you.
Senator Camilleri.
Senator Camilleri.
All right, thank you. Perfect timing. Apologies, the weather was horrible this morning, as I'm sure you all experienced. My name is Darren Camilleri, proud to serve in Senate District 4, representing Downriver and Western Wayne County. I want to thank my colleagues for working on this package together. As a former high school teacher, chair of the Senate Appropriations Pre-K through 12 Subcommittee, and a new parent, I'm thinking about this topic more and more every single day. With all of these roles and responsibilities, the safety and well-being of all Michigan kids has been top of mind. And it resonates even stronger now that I have a son of my own. In the school aid budgets I've helped craft and the policies we have worked on over the last 3 years, we made a concerted effort to increase awareness of and investment in our kids' mental health and physical safety. But there is one area that poses significant threats to both of those things that has gone largely unchecked, and it's high time that we change it. By the time an American kid reaches the age of 13, online advertising firms have already collected an average of 72 million data points on that child. 75% of top social media companies use artificial intelligence to suggest minors' profiles to strangers, and 46% of teenagers report that they lose sleep every single day due to feeling stuck on social media. Big tech has deliberately designed their digital platforms and algorithms to not only keep our kids scrolling non-stop, no matter the repercussions, but to also profit off of minors' social media addiction and private online activity. But it does not have to be this way. We can hold big tech accountable for the harm that they're inflicting and ensure our kids are better protected from those online threats. So I introduced Senate Bill 757, the Stop Addictive Feeds Exploitation, or Safe for Kids Act, to stop social media platforms from providing addictive, personal data-driven feeds to minors unless parental consent is given. This would safeguard our youth from big tech's unethical, for-profit driven practices that while they also empower parents with more control and transparency over the kids' online activity. And we're not stopping there. So I know that my colleagues have already spoken, but is there anyone else on deck? That's it. I think we'll take some questions.
Can somebody kind of visualize for me how this works? I mean, is the onus, I heard the onus is on big tech, now I heard the onus is on parents. So what does this actually look like?
Well, I just want to talk about parents. Parents need to step it up. They need to step up their game. However, a Gen X parent or even a millennial parent has not been faced with anything like this before. This is unprecedented. So I have a feeling a lot of parents just don't know that there are even AI chatbots out there that are seeking to have inappropriate relationships with their kids. So I'm proud to be a part of this because parents, we need to engage in a campaign to make parents aware so that they can just step it up. We don't live in a world anymore where you can give a kid a phone and just let it go and, you know, scroll for a couple hours in a corner. It's dangerous out there. So that's the parent piece I wanted to get.
If I may, just real quick, Kyle, thank you. I think this is about providing parents the necessary tools to be able to keep their kids safe online. And you heard from some of the folks here today, I think parents every day are battling with this idea of completely taking away the technology or allowing the access to it. I know in our household it's very difficult with an 8-year-old son who wants to play games online with his friends, and he'll leave soccer practice, come home and want to FaceTime and play Roblox with his friends, you know, right away. That's how they're engaging more and more over this technology. But what I have found as a parent, when we go in to try to use the protections, the little protections that exist today, they're not sufficient. I can't set real times. I can't set real controls around the data that's being shared from my child's account to other platforms. And I think every parent, while we all have to have an active role in enforcing how our kids interact online, we can't simply just take it away. We need the tools to be able to do that in a meaningful way. And that's what we're trying to do here, is put the tools and guidelines in place, force big tech to allow us to have the ability to regulate our kids' interactions online.
Senators, Pencil East, Michigan fans. We've seen instances where mental health institutions recognize drug, nicotine, and alcohol addictions as official disorders, but other things like food addiction are often placed in other categories. Would it be helpful to legislatures like ours that are trying to act on this if our mental health institutions recognize social media addiction as an official disorder?
It's a great question, and not something that I think we put a ton of thought in just yet, but it's something that I think we're all grappling with, right? We've added these new addictions across decades, so things like gambling, right? They were never considered an addiction, but now it is. And perhaps this is something that is becoming one of those addictions that's not just afflicting kids, it's afflicting adults too. If you look at your screen time yourself, right, we're all probably at a higher level than what we'd like to be, but because of the way that these algorithms keep us online, even adults are subject to some of that type of addiction. So I think it's worth looking at, but I don't know that we're at that point of calling it, a legislative category that we should be addressing.
Remington Hernandez, News Channel 3. The House has seen some bills that deal with social media, recently with cell phones, but also social media. Have you had any conversations with your colleagues over there, and do you think that this is something that you could work with them on?
Go ahead. Okay. So we've successfully worked on bills across chambers, specifically myself and Representative Mark Tisdale, about banning cell phone use in K-12 public schools during instruction, and that may happen as soon as this week. And so yes, I think we can come together on this. We've been pretty successful in the last few weeks, even with passing of work keys legislation to work together for the benefit, put all the political differences aside, all the jabs and politics aside, and come together for our kids. I think we can do it.
Can you guys explain the AI companion bot provisions that you're proposing? Is that gonna do you have to put in your birth date to access them? How would that function? And secondly, you're talking about kids. Is this people under 18 are gonna be banned from these things, or is there some other age you all are using?
Craig, we're gonna have a hearing on this that's gonna explain all the ins and outs of the bills, because the bills are even new to me, so I hesitate to talk about the intricacies of it all. But yeah, I anticipate lots of hearings with actual parents too, whose kids have been affected by things like AI chatbots, which I didn't even know were a thing, honestly, until recently, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, Simon Schuster Bridge. Does this mean, I have a question similar to Craig's, does this mean that, I see there's provisions in this legislation for age assurance and verification. Does this mean that we're going to have to be submitting our identity documents in order to access some of these websites?
You look at places like states like California that have done a lot of online verification of ages for various apps that you have access to. That's one model we can look at. We can look at some other states that have enacted some of this type of legislation to make sure that we are following the law and making sure that people who are of the appropriate age are the ones who are using these apps. You see it even with Instagram today. You have age requirements that they are asking of you when you're creating the account. But it's more than just the creation of the account. It's the information that's being seen on that app as well. So we've got to do more to hold big tech to a higher standard to make sure that they are not continuously giving these addictive feeds and putting them in front of our young kids who are getting not just addicted on social media, but you're finding it through YouTube and other videos, and it's finding its way into the classroom. We hope that our cell phone ban will help in the attempt to curb some of that behavior during the day.
As a
We have time
follow-up,
for 2 more questions.
as a follow-up to that, are you guys baking in assurances that once some of those age verification models are in place, that big tech won't abuse those pieces of data, such as our identities, our documents, things like that?
We have a lot of work to do in data privacy across the board. So it's not just when it comes to this legislation. We've worked on this in the Senate. Our colleague Senator Bayer has introduced some legislation around data privacy. It's a big topic that all of us should be dealing with, not just here in Michigan, but across the country. And so our attempt here in the state legislature is to do what we can on this topic right now before us. We hope that our colleagues in the House will join us in this effort to keep our kids safe online. But this is a nationwide problem that we hope that our federal government will also step up and do more to protect our privacy across the country.
Senator McMorrow, you're running for U.S. Senate. Is there something that you would like to see done on the federal level with more protections for children on social media?
Absolutely. I am standing here with my colleagues today because I'm grateful that as a state, we are stepping up to lead. States are the laboratories of democracy, and where the federal government has frankly failed kids and let tech companies get away with rampant exploitation of minors, hopefully this can be something that we bring with us to the federal level to ensure that we are putting kids' safety first. And Michigan is a state that is leading, so I'm really proud to be supporting my colleagues today and hope to continue that effort moving forward.
Thank you, everyone. That's all we have time for.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Stay warm.